So that was it for Andor Season 2. But man, that month went by fast. Really fast. So now we're at 1 BBY, 1 year before the Battle of Yavin. We see that alarm going off. Lonnie's trying to contact Luthen. Clea seems super nervous. She tells him to get out of there, and he says, "Oh, get out of there unless it's perfect." And he says, "We've used up all the perfect." It seems like he just knows that they've done so much. Luthen says that he's gonna burn his life for a sunset he's never gonna see. And it's always seemed like that was part of his plan. Lonnie basically tells Luthen everything. The energy project is a lie. The Gorman massacre. They're mining kyber crystals now. They're creating a weapon, Galen Erso. And it turns out that Lonnie has been diving into Dedra's personal files or secret files or work files. I don't know if you'd say they're personal, if they're work stuff, But he's been diving into her for over a year. He's like burnt his cover in a way. He's not going to get away with it anymore, and he needs to get out of town. I like Lonnie. Lonnie's awesome. He is so vital to the rebellion. All the information that he's given Luthen, when you start putting it all together, is crazy. He's still talking, and we see Luthen running down the stairs, and then we cut to a Loth cat, which was really kind of awesome. And unfortunately, Lonnie is dead. Luthen and Dedra and the antiquity shop was really good. Like, it's funny how they're both kind of putting on a front. They know who each other are. They're still playing it up, She asks us, is anything here, is everything real, or is anything fake? And Luthen is very smart to pick up the dagger. It's a Nautilin bleeder. And if you look at the hilt of the blade, it looks very much like this guy here, Kit Fisto. So it's a Nautilin. I thought that was awesome. So yeah, Luthen was smart to grab that. Like he that wasn't a mistake. Before Dedra had got into the building, he's burning the comms they have. He's pouring it looks like a liquid metal into the big radio thing where they stick the little things into each little opening. And Dedra sees that smoking, pulls out a knife, but Luthen drops to the ground because he basically gutted himself. The scene was cool. The acting was great. Dedra bringing out the star path and how Luthen just instantly switched from the antiquity wig guy to real hardcore Luthen very quickly. That was great. And that's a testament to Stellan Skarsgård's acting. Luthen's origin story was very interesting too. It was hard to tell if he was an Imperial soldier or if this was in the Clone Wars or what. I have to do the math, I'm going to say this has to be pre-Empire. I guess it doesn't have to be. I don't know. What do you think? We see this interwoven story between the backstory of Clea and Luthen and Clea going through the hospital. She sets off an explosion as a diversion, gets a bunch of people out of the building. She shoots stormtroopers and those tactical troopers. And there's a guy floating in a bacta tank. I thought that was awesome. And then the way she uses that E.T. looking turret head character, pushes her through the building. That was pretty awesome. And also the key thing, the little it was the lock picker mechanism she had to break into the locks inside the nursing. It's the nurse lockers or whatever they were. That was pretty awesome. But yeah, we see their past a little bit, and they're selling antiques, they're selling old things, and she's already at a young age pretty good. She's pretty good at wheeling and dealing. They offered them what did she say, $7,000, 7,000 credits for something, and got it up to 18,000 credits. It shows her determination and how tough she was, even at a young age. To backtrack to Naboo, and it seemed like that was really their first strike against the Empire. Whatever they used to blow up those guys on the bridge in Naboo was probably the same way she did it in the hospital. So she eventually does pull the plug on Luthen. I wasn't sure if she was going to escape or not, and then gets to the safe house. So then we do see, staying with that episode, I think that guy's name was Hirt. Hirt has Dedra arrested. And I think when they find out that Lonnie's dead, all signs point to Dedra killing Lonnie, which was another masterful move in a way for Luthen. Because, Lonnie was a loose end. He had to. I say he had to, but he had to in quotes. He had to, in his mind, eliminate Lonnie. But then that kind of fell onto Dedra. Then the scene between Krennic and Dedra was really great. It's almost like Dedra's now where Cyril was in season 1, right? Like the exact same place, exact same position, exact same like mindset. She was so obsessed with catching and finding access. It cost her everything. And it was same like Cyril was so obsessed with catching Andor. It cost him everything. The parallels, like George Lucas said that it's poetry, it all rhymes. That's very much in play for this entire series, really. I didn't know how much I needed to see Cassian, Melshi, and K2 play like that poker game and drink. Probably one of my favorite scenes of the entire series. Like I said, if you watched the last episode, I really like background characters. I like to find the characters who don't have a ton of screen time, but they make an impact. Melshi's definitely one of those guys. Especially like just in Rogue One, right? In Rogue One, he's not in it very much, but he's cool. And then seeing him in season 1 was an amazing callback. And now it's the same thing. Season 2, he's not in it a ton, but he's awesome. And K2 did seem nervous. I thought that was funny where they're like, you're nervous. And he's like telling them the odds and all that stuff. So Wilmon comes in with the radio and they're talking about, they don't know who's on the other end, but they're talking about what they have to do. For Cassian, there's not a whole lot of thought that they won't do it. And I like how K2's talking about all, like, I guess rules they're breaking or orders they're breaking, where it was like, they defied, at the end, it was like, we defied 18 orders to do this. You see the contrast between the Empire / ISB in the early stage of like some of these rebellion people, where the rebellion's doing what they need to do while the people in the Empire are doing what serves them the best. And I think that's fitting. It kind of goes to like, this is why your Empire's going to fail. The Imperial tech lady, like when we get back to Luthen's office and they're going through all this stuff, and she is like such a nerd for the tech. I thought that was good. That was like a good humor thing. That wasn't like too over the top. It wasn't too stupid, but it was like perfectly fitting, because a person like that engineering, mechanic, radio type, like she was way too into it. And then the little guy like in the background, he was kind of like stop. It's not the time or place for you to be like all giddy. Cassian, Melshi, K2 leave to go to Coruscant, and then they show us like flying above Coruscant, and Melshi's like reaction to Coruscant. He's never been there. And K2's like, I've been to Coruscant. I was in a parade with 200 KX units. The Emperor was there. The way he said it was just so matter of fact, but like at the same time kind of braggy. And it's weird how he recalls his memories of being like an Imperial, but he doesn't like where his loyalty is to the rebellion now. That's awesome. Cassian and Melshi get to Clea, and the comms are down, and then board K2. K2 is so great in this episode, where he's sitting on the ship and he's bored. He's just like why would a droid do that? Like that's one thing that I love about K2SO is how he's like the anti-droid. He realizes the comms are down and he's like, oh no. You see that he's just like in episode 8, like the K2 droids or KX droids, whatever, they're basically Terminators. The tactical team was really cool. It's cool to see like these guys who they're in Stormtrooper armor with no Stormtrooper helmet on. But seeing K2 come down the hallway, and he's just kicks the dude into the elevator and all that, and then he's going down the hallway, and it's another awesome Star Wars hallway scene. And he has Hirt and using him as a human shield. What a death for that dude. He was kind of a prick anyway. He was like a little snarly little mealy mouth. Got a taste of power and it went to his head. So we see a meeting with Mon Mothma and a hologram of Saw Gerrera. We actually see one of those in Rebels, so that's like a pretty common thing of them trying to get on the same page. It just doesn't happen. The appearance of Admiral Raddus was great. Admiral Raddus was so awesome in Rogue One. The meeting with the council, with Bale's there, Cassian's there, a couple of the other senators. One's name is like Palmo, but then there's the other guy from Rogue One, another sniveling type nerd dude. I don't know his name, and how Cassie is just like, he's pointing out that yes, Luthen is flawed, but there is no rebellion. There's no Yavin 4 base without Luthen. And especially, like, what have most of those senators have done compared to what Luthen has done? His ways aren't perfect, but he's fighting fascism. We could use a Luthen if you live in America right about now. Maybe not to that extreme yet. Hearing Nimic's manifesto playing, and I kind of thought it was like close to a wrap up of the episode, but it was Major Partagaz listening to it in the office of the ISB. And it's really, the ISB is just crumbling. And ultimately, like, this is the beginning of the end of the Empire too. And it all starts here. And it's like one of those things where it's been said like multiple times, like the Empire's afraid of the freedom. And fear is what they're using to keep everything in line. And fear is the path to the dark side. It's unnatural. So it's all coming unglued for them. And Partagaz says that, talking about the words in Nimic's manifesto, that it's spreading. The freedom is spreading. The message is spreading. And it kind of, like I said earlier, it contrasts, it's not really contrast, but it like rhymes the poetry to season 1, where Partagaz refers to it as a disease. Their job is to like cut out the disease. To them, to the Empire, that's what this rebellion is. It's disease. And he even brought it up with Clea, now that I'm thinking about it, where he says she's diseased. Here it says, well, what are the charges? When they're in the office, and it's Partagaz, it's Krennic, and Hirt. And Hirt says, well, what are the charges against her? You could see his inexperience in all this too there. And Partagaz says quickly, like, she's diseased. She left the hospital, she has a disease, and she's going to spread it to everybody else. Go back to Partagaz, where he's alone in the office by himself. And then the caption said muffled blaster bolt. So I think that was better than probably getting sent to Lord Vader. I wonder if that's what it was. Are they going to hang him, stick him in a jail at Narkina 5? Does he get to meet Darth Vader? Like, what is his destiny? The meeting with Cassian and Vel was pretty cool. Like, just seeing, like, they're going to have a drink and talk about all the Fallen that they've worked with, from everything from Aldhani, Nimic, Luthen, and Cinta. And I like how she didn't, like, bullshit Cassian. She was just like, Mon wants me to know, like, what you think about all of this type deal. It's like no bullshit. Because they had respect between each other, and I thought that was good. Then we see Cassian dream of his sister. I think the sister is just supposed to represent like the catalyst for Cassian's greater calling. That's like the tipping off point for him to do everything. Cassian's wearing the clothes from Rogue One. That's cool. We see Melshi with the soldiers running through like a boot camp style run through of the woods. We see Pow from Rogue One. I wanted to see more of him. He's another, like, he's the side character that I love to see. In Rogue One, it's cool because he actually refers to the walkers and AT-AT, and then says Carabas. We see Mon and Vel having breakfast. Woman and Drina still together. Drunk, rough-looking Perrin, and he's with Skulden's wife. Wild. Dedra is in an Imperial prison, much like Narkina 5, like the Narkina 5 women's wing. She choked on her own aspirations. Clea waking up on Yavin, kind of seeing what it's all been about. Cassian nodding to the Force healer. And then B2 Emo. It's good to see the little guy like happy and safe. And in the background is Bix holding her and Cassian's child. We see what everything's for. What all the sacrifice everybody's made in this series. And what ultimately Rogue One is about is for that next generation. It's like risking everything to like end fascism, end an oppressive empire. Like, we see these characters here now, but we don't see any of them in Rogue One. And I don't think we need to, I think that the idea that the rebellion's in good hands with Vel. training with Wilmon doing his thing, and hopefully Clea. And they're just now, this has been really good. I've had this idea to do this channel for a while now. I never had the time. I never knew how to go about doing it. And this is just the start. I'm definitely going to keep doing it. There'll be more coming soon. I have like different ideas and stuff, but Andor, the series is over. It was so great. It's probably my favorite piece of Star Wars. And I think right now, and we know we have Ahsoka coming out, but I think the TV side of Star Wars is kind of up in the air right now as far as what the future holds. But that's a topic for another day. Subscribe if you haven't. Check out another video if you want to see some of my talks about the other episodes of Andor. And may the Force be with you always. You see the juxtaposition. You see the that's a fucking word to say. You see the juxtaposition. You see the contrast